Here we are live at the Emera AGM, and as you can see here at the registration table, we have quite a few of the pictures that we tried to present to members of Parliament last a couple of weeks ago in Ottawa. Everyone who is registering has to look into the faces and see the faces of all the people downstream of Muskrat Falls who are being poisoned with methylmercury and who live with the threat of catastrophic dam break. People will also see the Muskrat Falls methylmercury water. Would you like to try some methylmercury water, sir? This is what the people downstream of Muskrat Falls are forced to live with.
Very familiar.
You are? We hope you'll raise this as an issue, the fact that a lot of people's lives are at risk downstream of Muskrat Falls. You're familiar with the issue?
I am.
Can I give you this flyer as well? Oh, you've got the flyer. Excellent. We hope you'll raise some questions in there because there's nothing in the annual circular about this project and about the dangers of the project. Thank you so much. Another shareholder who thankfully will be raising that issue on the inside. So bit by bit, people, we're spreading the word, and more people are learning about the lethal effects of the Muskrat Falls Megadam. Here we are in the lobby to the CBC, the Gould studio. It looks like the police have shown up. Why is it always a police matter whenever you want to save your life? I always thought that that was something that would be a noble thing, saving the lives of others, but apparently they don't seem to think so as well. We'll be here for a few more minutes, and then we will be heading back to Ottawa, some of us, for a visit to see Catherine McKenna to demand that she comply with the Minamata Convention against mercury poisoning. Here again at the Emera General Meeting. How are we feeling about today's demonstration, folks?
We're feeling hopeful, raising some awareness, and hopefully people understand how serious this is.
Yep.
And it's time to stop the dam project.
Right.
The dam project.
The dam project, yeah. Liz?
It's really great that we've been asked to come, and I think some of the people going into the meeting seem to have taken it, and some part of the humanity was able to hear the truth and maybe think about it and have an impact on this company. And it's just amazing, these really wealthy looking white men walking in this room. They're able to not even know. They keep making money off this horrible thing.
Yeah, right on. Thank you. And we'll just go over to Romaine. As used to happen on the White Man's News, the National. Romaine, the last word goes to you today.
I'm glad that we're here.
Right on.
And there are people who are paying some attention. I hope some will read the pamphlets. And we come as pacifists, and I'm glad we're here.
Right on. All right, so can we just all wave and give a shout out to our loved ones and friends down in Labrador who have to live with this risk every year? Send that love. Yes, yes. And this is not the end, is it? This is not the end. This is not the end. Don't drink that Muskrat Falls water. Absolutely, it's dangerous. Look at that now with 10% methylmercury. And Tracy, I believe you're organizing an event for Muskrat Falls coming up very soon. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we'll be having sidewalk sales outside of Anari's Apothecary at Dover Court and Bloor, 749 Dover Court Road, on Saturdays. And all of the monies from these sidewalk sales are going to help people from Muskrat Falls travel and talk about the danger their community is facing.
Right on. Now, I understand you were in Ottawa a couple of weeks ago as well. This is an issue that's important to you. Why is this issue important to you?
Because everyone needs clean water, and it's beyond disappointing to me that as a Canadian, we're not only looking back at our colonial history and saying, wow, we really shouldn't have polluted that water, and oh boy, there are people facing catastrophic health consequences because of stuff that's happened in the past. But to have it happening here in the present, to have our Truth and Reconciliation Committed government commit $9.2 billion in loan guarantees to do grassy narrows all over again is completely astonishing and intolerable.
Right. Shame indeed. We're going to go over to my friend Rabia. Rabia, you drove all the way to Ottawa a couple of weeks ago, and you're here again today. Can you talk about why you're here and why this issue is important to you?
So I was really struck listening to the people from Labrador describe how their freezers were full of partridge and fish and seal, and that they live in a traditional lifestyle, which we know that in other parts of this land that connection has been cut through residential schools. And so how can we reproduce that destruction in the current moment all over again? People still have that knowledge. It means they still have intergenerational connection. They have language. They're healthier. And it would be so expensive to have to buy junk food and gas, etc., in order to live in a different way up in Labrador. I'm amazed that our government is pushing forward a dam which is going to produce expensive energy that even The Economist says does not make sense. Like, The Economist thinks this is a bad idea and has devoted multiple articles to this. Whose energy are we subsidizing? Why is Trudeau doing this? Does this have to do with the failing NAFTA talks? Why are we doing this? And why aren't more people just standing up and saying intolerable?
You've been involved for decades now in human rights issues. I know you were very active in efforts to get clean water to the people of Iraq when their lives were being devastated by the punishing sanctions which Canada enforced with over $1 billion in military force. Can you draw the connection between those two things?
Our foreign policy right now is that Canada has this failing attempt to become a petrostate in using dirty energy sources, and this means that the way we use our land within our colonial borders is destructive to people who cannot just move from one part of the country to another because they live in a holistic way for millennia, connected to and tied to that particular ecosystem, that particular land. So our foreign policy is not good for this country and the people who live on the land.
Right on. Thank you so much. Would someone who's been to Grassy Narrows be willing to just say a few words? This is our very dear friend Maggie, and Maggie is a longtime social justice activist and organizer. Maggie, you've been to Grassy Narrows. Can you talk a little bit about that and what brings you here today?
Well, yes, having been to Grassy Narrows, I saw the problems that they have there year after year, and we've done nothing to clean it up. And here we are about to embark on another way of making a mess of a beautiful, pristine country. Grassy Narrows itself is set in a beautiful place, but the water's poison, and they have to bring in water in order to drink it. So, and why? Like, why would we do that? Why would we not clean up Grassy Narrows, and then we're going ahead and we're making a mess out in Labrador? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thank you for being here. Kevin, I understand you've made a connection with someone in Labrador. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes. My understanding is that the Labrador land protectors have been so courageous in resisting this project that's going to devastate the land, devastate their nation, devastate their culture. And, you know, you cannot talk about reconciliation and then grant $9 billion of loans to a project that's going to destroy an Indigenous nation. It's a total lie. The Trudeau government is lying every single day when they say they're committed to reconciliation, and then they fund projects like this. And an investment company like Emera, when they say that they're committed to healthy and clean living, but then they fund something like this, it's a complete lie. Every investor who does not want to speak up against this project should be ashamed of themselves. You cannot have reconciliation with Indigenous nations and Indigenous peoples. You are continuing the genocide, and it has to stop.
Now, you don't use that term lightly. I understand you're familiar with another genocide which takes place in a country called Sri Lanka. Do you see a connection between your work there and the work here under a colonial occupation?
I do see a connection as far as people who speak out against human rights violations, people who speak out against genocide and cultural genocide, whether it's in Labrador or in the north of Sri Lanka, are basically being treated by their governments in the same way. To take an Indigenous elder and put them in prison because for simply trying to defend her nation, her culture, and Mother Earth for all of us is outrageous. And it's outrageous, and people need to understand that, you know, Canada is not a peacekeeping nation. It never has been. It's depending on the exploitation and of stolen land. And, you know, nothing has changed with this government.
Yeah.
And people need to stand up, whether it's with their money or with their voices or with their bodies against this.
Right on. Thank you so much, Kevin. We'd also like to thank Rachel from Council of Canadians for helping co-organize today. Rachel, would you like to say a few words about why you're here and why the Council of Canadians a couple of weeks ago called on the Trudeau government to withdraw its $9.2 billion investment in Muskrat Falls? Can you talk about your work and how it is connected to what's going on at Muskrat Falls?
Sure. I mean, the Council of Canadians absolutely stands in solidarity with the Innu, the Inuit, and the settlers who in Labrador are going to be deeply impacted by this project. We stand by everyone trying to shut Muskrat Falls down. We think this project is incredibly irresponsible, almost inconceivable, the risk that it's going to be putting people's lives at from methylmercury poisoning, as you discussed, at risk of drowning. And we stand here today, but also our colleagues and who we organize with out east are fighting this every day, and we're going to continue to fight with everyone who's going to shut Muskrat Falls down.
Right on. And a big shout out to Angela Giles in the Atlantic office, who does awesome work with the Labrador Land Protectors. So thank you so much for that. And again, thank you everyone. We're going to be heading out now because we have other things to do today, obviously, but I think we've gotten a message in, and it's been very powerful. And thank you everyone for being here. And again, waving to everyone in Labrador. Would you like to wave, folks, at the registration table? You can if you like, but you might want to read the flyers first. And thank you again, everyone, and we'll be... Let's shut Muskrat down!
Shut Muskrat down!